Hi, welcome to my final video for 2016, where I will be explaining the most important figure in all of Christianity, Jesus Christ. So let's start with the first topic, Jesus, the Jewish rabbi. There's no doubt that Jesus was Jewish and that he followed Jewish traditions. So we all know that there's actually many writings that have proven that Jesus celebrated Passover and he went to the Jewish temple. So there's no doubt that Jesus was actually Jewish and that he celebrated many Jewish traditions, because some people say, no, Jesus wasn't actually Jewish, he was some other thing, he was nothing, but he wasn't Jewish. But he was actually Jewish. You can't study the figure of Jesus without faith. There's been so many people that have tried to do this, but they have failed because you cannot study. They go along. The Greeks invaded Israel before the Romans did. The result of this was that most of Israel spoke, dressed, and behaved like the Greeks did. Because of the Greek invasion, most of Israel was under the influence of Greek traditions, but not the countryside. So Jesus lived on the countryside of Israel, so he was raised as a Jewish boy. He had he celebrated many Jewish traditions, but he was a very blooded Jewish boy, so there is no doubt that he was Jewish, because he was from the countryside, and the countryside was highly Jewish, but the big cities, they were actually Greek. They spoke Greek, they behaved like the Greeks, and they did everything like the Greeks did. There has been so many people that have tried to prove that Jesus wasn't God, and some that he didn't even exist. So they've tried to study, and they actually failed, because there's so many proof that Jesus existed. Actually, there's some non-Christian proof that Jesus was real. We're going to study the non-Christian ones. Why? Because some people are probably going to say, oh, why are you saying the Christian ones? Of course, the Christians are going to say that Jesus existed. No, we're going to talk about the non-Christian ones, which we have Pliny the Younger, Tacitus, and Flavius Josephus. The three of them, they actually wrote, they mentioned Jesus some of their writings. They were not Christians. They had nothing to do with Jesus Christ. They were just talking about a figure named Christo, which in Greek means Messiah, and they were explaining this, that there was this figure who were moving a lot of people, and the Christians, and that they were gathering on Sunday and everything. So there's actually these three people actually explained that Jesus actually existed. So for many people back then, it was extremely surprising that a countryside boy was extremely intelligent like Jesus was. I mean, he was like, 8 years old when he went to the temple, and he was extremely intelligent. So of course, some of the priests and rabbis and everyone was like, oh wow, this guy knows so much. And some of them were afraid, because how can a small kid, because he was like, oh yeah, the Father, and he spoke in such a way that no one else spoke that way back then. So we all know that Jesus personally selected his disciples. He preached orally using parables. He did not quote anything while he was alive. Jesus in all his prayers mentions his Father, except in the cross when he actually mentions the Psalms. If you go to church on Sunday, you're going to hear the Psalms. He basically said, God, God, why have you abandoned me? But actually, Jesus mentioned his Father more than 200 times under the name of Abba, which is an Arabic word. This is actually pretty huge, because he was talking about something bigger, and a lot of people cannot understand this about Christianity, how there's three figures and only one God. So now let's go with topic number 2. Is Jesus the Son of God? We know there's proof that Jesus was real, but was he really the Son of God? Jesus doesn't only preach, he performs miracles. So Jesus did not just spoke, he actually performed many miracles. So none of the miracles were actually for his personal benefit. Actually, Jesus did all of these miracles in order to save all of us. He wanted us to go to heaven. So basically, he did all of this just to save us, which is actually pretty cool. And the Passion of Jesus Christ is probably the biggest evidence there is that Jesus did not do this personally. He actually wanted to save us. Jesus didn't come to be served, he came to serve and to save us all. So he didn't come here to be the king, because he would have been born in Jerusalem or Rome, or I don't know, in a big city, and in a palace under he would have been the son of the king, and everyone would have respected him because he was a king. But no, he actually came as a carpenter. He was poor, he was Jewish, and he lived in Israel. So basically, no, he was a nobody. Miracles are enough proof of God's presence in the world, because no one can explain how these miracles were performed. By physics can explain this, chemistry can explain this, and biology can't explain this. We have two great examples: the raising of Lazarus, and we have the paralytic guy. So basically, these two miracles, they actually explain so much about Jesus, because these miracles, I mean, you cannot just go to somebody and say, "Wake up, Lazarus, wake up," and the dude is just gonna wake up. I mean, that doesn't happen in real life. And the paralytic guy who couldn't walk, and he wasn't able to walk for his entire life, Jesus actually had a compassion for him and for his friends, because they actually believed. So there's modern day miracles when Jesus, the host, and and all the Virgin Mary apparitions around the world, appearances, those are two huge modern day miracles. So the Passion of Christ was scandalous for Christians, because being killed on a cross crucifixion was probably the worst type of punishment there was back then. The resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now let's explain why Christianity doesn't just end when Jesus died on the cross. There's something else. There's no doubt that Jesus died on the cross. I mean, there's so many physical proofs. Actually, there's some remains of the cross, so there's no doubt that he died on the cross. Some priests requested a guard to patrol the body to prevent the disciples from stealing the body. So they basically were saying, "Oh no, they're just going to steal the body, and they're going to say, oh, Jesus resurrected," and all of this. And they tried to prevent this, so they put two Roman guards outside of the tomb to guard Jesus' body. The women were the first one to arrive to the tomb, as we all know, and they encountered the angel who told them everything that was happening. But Jesus, the angel basically explained that Jesus went down to hell to save all the good people that lived before Jesus died on the cross. So basically, everything until Jesus' death, all of them, they didn't go to heaven. Basically, when Jesus died and resurrected, the gates of heaven opened. Without the resurrection, we all know that Christianity wouldn't even exist. I mean, if Jesus would have died and that's it, they were like, oh, okay, well, I don't think he was God, he just got killed. But after he resurrected, people actually were like, oh my gosh, he was actually God. The resurrection of the center of Christianity, basically everything Christianity talks about is the resurrection of Christ. I mean, because if without the resurrection, there wouldn't be Christians at all, and Jesus wouldn't be just another prophet or another someone that said, "I'm the Messiah," but he actually resurrected, so that was pretty huge. Facts that helped to prove the veracity of the resurrection is that the tomb was empty. While the guards were there, the guards didn't see anything. So they were like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Why? Because it's God. And the woman seeing this, because women were not like that. Women didn't have saying. So basically them by saying. And then the disciples actually by believing this, they didn't believe at the beginning, but they believed at the end. So Jesus' corpse was a glorious body after the resurrection, as we all know. And we all know that his resurrection opened us gates to a new life. So basically when he died, he opened the kingdom of heaven, the gates of the kingdom of heaven. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you next time, 2017, my next video. See ya.